What's a moholla? Hedged between busy streets, a moholla is a quieter locality housing middle-class and lower-middle-class families. It has all kinds of interesting lanes and spaces where children play and housewives bargain. It is a sort of private neighborhood that you can think of as your very own. The latticework which you see in this picture is part of Baba House, or the house with the well, in Pune. Here Baba lived as a young man with his family. The widespread development in the surrounding areas of Pune that we see today has somehow bypassed the Moholla, leaving its old buildings almost untouched. Here one can truly say time has stood still. In the old days it was called an alley, but now I am told the word alley has an ugly meaning. So let's use the Indian word moholla. People living in a moholla such as ours are like a joint family, quite heartwarming and caring. In a moholla anybody's business is everybody's business. If one receives good news, everybody helps to celebrate. If a husband beats a wife, everybody is up in arms. None of our neighbors were rich, except in heart. And what with all the weddings and funerals, fights and festivals, life was always interesting where I grew up. Most interesting were the people, but if I were to write about all the characters in our moholla, that would be another whole book. A number of the moholla residents whom I knew as a child were also known to Baba when he was staying with the family. The characters he recalled years later even included vendors who passed through our lanes selling their wares, samosas, ice cream, coconut candy, poppadoms, and what not. Baba specially remembered Ghulam Hussain, the sherbet wala with the big moustache. Ghulam Hussain pushed his wares in a gay little handcart, ringing the big brass bell hanging from its top. Clang, clang, went Ghulam Hussain's bell, and out ran all the children of the neighborhood and surrounded him. I was one of the children surrounding him. He would fix crushed ice at the end of a stick in whatever shape you ordered and then pour sweet let's peek through the trellis and meet the family at home. You see father, mother, Jal, Adi, and myself. Behram is behind the camera taking this picture. It is the only picture I have where I am wearing a solar topi, the good old British hat which I speak of in another part of the book. Chandri, the maid servant, is standing in front of a wooden stand. On it are ceramic pots with delicate wines tended to by father and also elegant bottles containing colored water. This arrangement by father held a special fascination for me. Syrup over it in different colors. I would suck fast on my iced peacock and beg for more syrup. Please, please, Ghulam Hussain, a little more green on the tail, just a little more orange on the head, please, please. After a while he always gave in. Nice man, I'm so glad Baba remembered him. And there was Moshe, a Goanese Catholic, whom Baba especially remembered. Moshe means aunt, mother's sister, and she was Moshe to everyone. She was said to be 110 years old and believed to have grown another set of teeth in her old age. No, I'm not kidding. Perhaps they said this because Moshe was known to chew the toughest meat, bones and all. This little woman lived in one shabby room near to my aunt's house and cooked her own food in a tiny kitchen. Her life was ruled by the alarm clock and by Jesus. She had his pictures everywhere, and she wore a big rosary with a heavy cross dangling from it. And please note, she had a tin of biscuits on the shelf in her room. Although Moshe lived on the charity of the Catholic Church, she was demanding in her needs. If she found the bread stale or the meat not pink enough, she would let the Reverend Father know exactly what she thought of the bread and the meat, and of him. We children were enchanted with this very, very old lady. We were used to grown-ups of all ages, but Moshe was definitely an overgrown up. Moshe was very fond of me because, she told others, I was very pious. I'll tell you why she said that. It's because every time I saw her, I asked her to bless me. Her eyes would light up. She would fumble with her rosary and mumble a prayer while she blessed me with that cross. I would stand perfectly still while she blessed me, but my eye was glued to the biscuit tin on the shelf. I knew that after the blessing was over, Moshe would reach for the tin and give me a biscuit from it. On a lucky day I would get blessed several times. One Sunday afternoon after blessing me, she forgot to give me the biscuit. Oh heavens! What was I to do? How to remind her? Baba, 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 please help. I got the answer immediately. Turning to her I said, Moshe, I want to be blessed once more. Moshe was thrilled. Again. Oh my good child. After this second blessing, her hand automatically moved up to the tin and, oh, the relief, I got my biscuit.